Hi, I'm Darren Llewellyn. Welcome to this episode of MyToolboxTV. Today I want to talk about residential transformers. That transformer that's on a pole outside your house, or maybe it's on the ground on a pad, and we're going to talk about how they're connected, how they get you the 240 volts, or the 120 volts you need for receptacles and lighting and what have you. So let's take a closer look at residential transformers. Let's talk about what your residential transformer might look like and how it's hooked up. We've already talked about transformers, did a video on transformers, how those work. This is to represent the transformer outside your home. Okay, this could be also outside a business or something. Single phase, this is the primary, and it might have 13,800 volts or whatever the utility company is using. The secondary side, which is what this side, where the loads are connected, is the secondary. Source is the primary side. This side has fewer windings, so it's a step-down transformer. If you were to measure voltage from here to here, which we'll just call them L1 and L2, those are your what we call hot wires. Between here and here, we're looking at 240 volts. Okay? 240 volts in your home supplies power to your appliances, your air conditioners and things like that. Matter of fact, we've got shows what an air conditioner might look like hooked up in your home. The air conditioner is connected to L1 and L2, and that gives you the 240. It's also grounded. Now, there's another wire coming off of your transformer that's very important and very confusing for a lot of people, and that's the neutral wire. That's this wire right here in the middle. This neutral wire comes from what's known as a center tap. What we do is take the very center of this secondary side of the transformer and we bring off another wire. What that gives us is 120 volts. If it's 240 from using the entire secondary side, if we're just going to use one half of it, then from here to here, that gives us 120 volts. Okay, same thing over here. That's 120 volts. So the neutral wire is center tapped off the center of the transformer, feeding your home. Now, that 120 volts is what we're going to feed to receptacles, like this one, for instance. This is a receptacle. The big hole on your receptacles is the neutral wire. The smaller hole goes to one of the hot wires. Now, the other hole, the third one, goes to ground. And that's a video for another whole day. We could talk about ground wires. Now, you've got another receptacle over here connected to a different hot wire. They share the neutral, but it goes to a different hot wire, and again, it's got a ground wire too. So that's how your loads are connected. You could also have room lighting, lights for your kitchen or bedroom would also go from the neutral wire to a light bulb, to a light switch, then to your hot wire. Of course, there would be circuit breakers here too, all in the circuit, which we're not showing right now. So that's how your house is fed. Your double pole circuit breakers are, the reason we use double pole circuit breakers is because there are two hot wires feeding, and that's a circuit breaker symbol, not a very good one. The double pole breakers that feed your air conditioner have two poles, have two sides to it, because L1 and L2 are both feeding that circuit breaker. Because if there's a problem with your air conditioner, you have to break both sides of that circuit to properly shut it off. And current on either one of those will do that. Okay? The neutral wire does not go to necessarily to appliances and things like that. It's using the two-pole breakers. Now let's look at a receptacle that's got a hand tool plugged into it, a drill in this case. Now what we're looking at here is half of the transformer feeding your house. This is what I talked about earlier. The voltage from here to here is 120. Okay? 120 volts. Of course, you got another section over here just like it. So the receptacle, which is right here, has the big hole of the receptacle goes to the neutral wire, which is here. That's the neutral wire. The smaller hole goes to the hot wire, L1. And then, of course, we've got the ground wire. Now, if you look at current flow in and out of this power tool, the current, and remember it's AC, so it's constantly going back and forth, but the current is going to leave the receptacle, go through the coil of the winding of the motor, and return to the receptacle. Now remember it's AC, so it's going back and forth, but I can't draw that fast. Now what purpose does the ground wire play? This particular drill has a 3-prong plug-in. Now a lot of people over the years have cut that third prong off. They do all kinds of things, plug it into adapters where you don't need the third prong, supposedly. But let's look at what happens. If inside that drill, let's say the drill overheats for misuse. You've been drilling a whole bunch of stuff and it overheats. And the insulation on the conductors on the motor winding, the insulation melts and breaks down. So now the windings, the part that's connected to the hot wire, have grounded out and are now connected to metal parts of that drill. Maybe the drill's got a metal handle or metal on the case. Certainly they have a metal chuck and drill. So the thing's grounded out now. Now let's say this happens. What then is going to be the case? Current can take a shortcut back to the receptacle because you've changed the circuit, how the circuit is made. So current leaves the receptacle, grounds out to the case, and finds an easier path back to the receptacle through the ground wire. Because the ground wire is also connected to this neutral point right here. The neutral point and the ground wire are connected together at the service equipment. That wire, that green wire, gives you a safe path for fault current. A safe path. Now let's say that wire's not there. That wire's been removed. You've got one of those adapters on there, or you cut the third prong off. A lot of people laugh about cutting that third prong off and act like they know something the rest of us don't. Cutting that third prong off is stupid. Nobody that knows what they're doing in electrical work would ever do that. Ever. Okay? Here's why. Let's say that you've cut that third prong off. We don't have this ground wire, but you're still standing there and you are holding on to the drill when it grounds out. Now what happens is you're standing on ground. Maybe you're outside. Maybe you're standing on damp concrete. Maybe your shoes and your socks are damp. Doesn't take much. Maybe you're leaning on a metal appliance. Maybe you're touching a water pipe. Maybe you're touching anything grounded. Maybe you're standing on a grounded furnace register, something like that. So now you're connected to ground. You're connected to ground. Now when the drill has the fault inside, the current is still looking for a shortcut to ground, always. It's looking for the shortest path, the path of least resistance. If the current leaving the receptacle says, wow, going all the way back to that receptacle is going to be a lot harder, but look, here's this fat guy standing here in the wet socks holding on to this drill. Let's go that way. So current flows out of there through you to ground. And you're dead. Okay? Current path goes through your heart. It doesn't take much to kill you. People get killed this way all the time. And it's really senseless. If you've ever seen anybody laugh about cutting a third prong off, they're wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. They're the kind of people that think they do, but they do not. I would never use that. If you happen to have a situation where your receptacles aren't grounded, but your drill is, you've only got 2 holes and your drill needs 3 prongs, go to a GFI, a GFCI module. You can buy these in any hardware store, anywhere from $20 to $100, depends on how fancy you want to be. And that's what I use in my house. I would never, ever use anything ungrounded, particularly outside or any kind of garage environment. So that's what the ground wire is for. it gives fault current a path back to the receptacle, back to ground, and if that fault path is not there, it could be you. And we don't want that fault path to be you. Thanks for watching another episode of MyToolboxTV. This was a little bit on residential transformers. We'll have some more later in additional episodes. Thanks for watching. See you next time.